up until now, tenants have never been rewarded for paying on time, or there's never been a way to be rewarded for paying on time. Whereas if you have a mortgage, you're developing your credit history. Do not do that, because that is going to cost you in terms of days on the market and in terms of vacancy. So this is just, again, data-driven stuff to allow you to make a better educated decision on pricing your home right to begin with. There is a great opportunity if you already have a home in Carmel. If you've got one of those 3% interest rates, gosh, why would you ever sell a home in Carmel? I mean, talk about if you want a home that you're always going to have a tenant in, or something happens, you can always resell. I guarantee that home will sell. It will have multiple offers by this weekend. That's why they're putting it on the market on Thursday. They're going to have showings. They're going to have multiple offers, and they're going to call for highest and best on Sunday.
Welcome back to the Red Door Property Management Podcast. It's time to jump into our economic update and look at what rental owners and investors should be paying attention to right now. Mike, what do we got going on around town?
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Hey, I got a couple of pieces of good news, one little cautionary news, and then I got a couple just like updates and timely updates for our investors right now. So let me jump into the good news first, which is super awesome. This is U.S. News and World Report. As you can see here, 250 best places to live in the U.S. in 26 and 27. And take a look at this. Number 1, Carmel, Indiana. Now, I know we don't talk a lot about Carmel, Indiana. Yeah. Look at number 2, Fishers, Indiana.
Yeah, wow.
1, 2. So we don't talk a lot about Carmel, but my next story does relate to Carmel. But it is, for those not here, it's all the places that we talk about are surrounding Carmel. We just don't talk about Carmel as an investment point of view because it is typically a little bit more expensive and doesn't make sense from a cash flow point of view to purchase in there. But it just goes to show the level of desirability. I think last time we said, the secret's out on Indianapolis, and here we go. I mean, Carmel is continually on this list, but this is 1, 2, Carmel, Fishers, unbelievable. We report on Fishers, but Chris, it keeps going. So I'm going to scroll down this list. You haven't seen this yet, have you? So hold on.
No.
I got to load more here. Not too far down the list, Noblesville, Indiana at number 18.
Let's go. Jeez.
Right? That is also on our market reports. And Greenwood, Indiana at number 26.
Oh, my God. The brother and sister that I talk about all the time.
Yes. So there we go. Let's say 4 in the top 26. That is unbelievable, right?
That is
just
very,
incredible.
very cool. Yeah, and if you don't mind, I want to jump in here just a little bit as you talk about the economic updates. But Carmel, and I've advocated for Carmel to make it into our market reports before. And to Mike's point, the reason it doesn't make it into those those market reports is because it's not typically advantageous for investors because of the price point. However, we do manage many properties in Carmel, and I would argue that a lot of those are some of the most successful properties that we manage. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, you're going to get a really high quality tenant if you purchase a home in Carmel. It's typically a little bit more white collar, a little bit higher end in terms of rent. So typically those tenants, kind of have their financial act together. Most likely own a home or have owned a home, so treat the home better. Yes, the quality of the tenant that you're going to get in Carmel is going to be top notch. But that's also why we highlight some of the areas like Fishers and Noblesville, because those areas also have those attributions of those quality of tenants, but maybe not with such a high price point. And just for, I know that we always report on numbers from an investor point of view. But so they have the average or the median home value of $477. I just before we jumped on here, I just did a quick report of the active homes on the market in Carmel, and this is average, not median, so it's a little bit different. But the average home in Carmel was $770 something for an active home on the market. So that's what we're talking about is, it doesn't really make sense for the most part unless you are looking for just a super safe hedge where the market is safe, you're going to get good quality tenants, and you're looking for more of an appreciation play than a cash flow play. That's why we don't talk about Carmel, because you're not going to get the cash flow. You're probably going to be cash flow negative. But hey, if you want a quality house in a quality area with quality tenants, it's almost like a bond, really.
Yeah, last thing, I know I'm derailing your economic reports here, but the last thing I want to say about that, I guess what I was trying to convey is to those individuals that might already own property in Carmel and they have a job transition to another location, that's really the prime individuals that might want to explore leasing out their home in Carmel. All right, I'll shut up. Mike, take it away.
No, it's a great point, Chris, and I really should have brought that up. There is a great opportunity if you already have a home in Carmel. If you've got one of those 3% interest rates, gosh, why would you ever sell a home in Carmel? Rent it out, take advantage of that great interest rate, put in a high quality tenant, and just watch the home values climb, because that's all they're going to do in Carmel. So, my second one does also relate to Carmel. So I know I said we don't talk about Carmel a lot because of the price point. However, I do believe that there is a opportunity in Carmel, or this would maybe be the best opportunity in Carmel that I've identified. Again, if you're looking for something stable and that's going to be as close to cash flow as possible. So we've talked about this before, but this is IBJ. You guys know I love my IBJ. Carmel closer to finalizing redevelopment plans for Home Place. And for those that don't know, Home Place has kind of been they annexed it in I don't even know what year it was, but several years ago. Anyway, 2004. There we go. So they've annexed it, and it's on the southern part of Carmel. It's like 96th to 106th or 111th in College is kind of the area. And it's traditionally been a little bit more of a blue collar area, and it has been like that. It's maintained that reputation and that kind of feel. Well, now they are coming in with a master plan and starting to revitalize this area. So typically homes here in the Home Place area have been a lot more inexpensive than the rest of Carmel. And you could see, just want to kind of highlight this, that this is the redevelopment that's happening here. This is College, and then this is 106th. And you can see all these new detached homes, commercial expansion, cottage retail over here. They're going to have a food truck park, some more retail over here. Anyway, my point is this is, in my opinion, has been a little bit of a neglected part of Carmel. And so, if you know anything about Carmel, they do everything right. I mean, everything's got to be brick, and they have these crazy roundabouts with fountains in them. And you haven't seen that as much in the Home Place area. So they are pushing that into the Home Place area. I think you're going to see a lot of development, a lot of improvement, a lot of investment in this area. So I just kind of want to put it on some of our investors' radar that you can get homes here for a much more affordable price point than the rest of Carmel. I actually just looked before we got on, and they're not everywhere, but there was, and it's really limited. Right now, there was only one or two or three, but there was one that just listed for, I think, $350 today. So, I mean, talk about if you want a home that you're always going to have a tenant in, or something happens, you can always resell. I guarantee that home will sell. It will have multiple offers by this weekend. That's why they're putting it on the market on Thursday. They're going to have showings. They're going to have multiple offers, and they're going to call for highest and best on Sunday. Because
sounds like you're jumping in.
I mean, maybe, but I mean that price point in Carmel, $350, is like it's unbelievable. So you're always going to have a renter, you're always going to have a buyer, you're always going to have an out. You'll always have multiple applications on there. So I mean, like, just a really safe bet. So anyway, just wanted to put it on our investors' radar. But don't forget, there is what amounts to a moratorium on rentals until the end of next year. So don't buy right now. Keep it on your radar, or do a rehab and hold it, whatever it is. But just know that you can't turn it into a rental until, I think, the end of next year.
Okay, so now you've mentioned that. So you're talking about a moratorium is going to keep that at bay until the end of 2027. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, remember Carmel was the first one. Sorry, Fishers was the first one to put a ban on not a ban, 10% cap, and then Carmel quickly followed suit. And then the state stepped in and said, actually, that's illegal. We're not letting you do that. But they gave them a little window of opportunity to do it, and so that 10% cap. So yeah, I guess you're right. I should qualify it. It is a 10% cap. If it's not in a neighborhood, that doesn't apply. So there are some opportunities here. But just anyway, we've got a podcast on it. Watch that. But just know that is a caveat to purchasing right now for the next 12 to 16 months, something like that. Cool. The next one is a little bit of a cautionary tale. So this is Indy area home builders see April dip in permit applications. And that's basically what this is. So builders filed 976 building permits in the 9-county area, a 6% drop from April of 2025. So 6% year over year drop. Okay. And it came after a year-over-year increase of 13% in March. So up and down, up and down, up and down. We've looked at these numbers in the past, and what I find the most interesting is this county by county. I don't know if you remember, Chris, we looked at this several months ago, and it was really some counties were really in the positive and some counties were really in the negative. In this particular case, most counties except for Johnson County, which is up almost 20%, and then Morgan County, which is up 35%. Most of these other counties are seeing a pretty significant decrease in building permits. So a bit of a cautionary tale. Yeah. Bit of a cautionary tale there for new home builds, which is interesting.
So read through some of these. So you're looking at Hamilton County is down, and I'm trying to. Okay, I got it. So it's down 14%. Marion County is actually moving up 5% in their building permits, which I think is important to mention, right? So the Indianapolis is actually going up in their building permits. Hancock County, interesting. I love Hancock County, but it's going down 18%. I was wondering when that was going to cool down a little bit here in Hancock. Johnson County. I mean, let's dial these in a little bit. Yes, that's Greenwood. Let's not.
For those who are not here locally, so Hamilton County would be for us Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers, Westfield, and I think that's it. I think I got them all. Marion County, of course, is Indianapolis for the most part. Johnson County is Greenwood. That's what we talk about. There's Whiteland, New Whiteland. Hendricks County is the West Side Roundup, right? Boone County would be Whiteland. Lebanon would be in Boone County, which is interesting to see that down 9%. I think that's McCordsville. That's in Hancock.
Yeah, it's in Hancock County. So, and that's kind of where my attention originally drew. But yeah, but most importantly, nothing validates you as an expert than seeing numbers like, if you've watched our podcasts at all, we're touting, and one of the biggest things that I say is that all of the new construction that's happening in the Greenwood area, builder permits up 19% in the Greenwood area. That's incredible. But this is fascinating information to have. What an insight to have as people are looking at whether to invest in these areas. But more importantly, what's the other impact that you might see if you own a property in these areas? Guess what? New construction is going to slow down. That could potentially mean increased home value, less competition. There are several factors that will impact you based on these numbers, whether they're positive, meaning up, or in the negative, down 14% in Hamilton County. That's going to affect you in some way, whether you're an owner there already or you're potentially a new investor coming into the market.
Yep. Let me jump into the next one, which is just a bit of a breaking, I don't know about breaking news, but a news story from HUD. And it's kind of good and bad for investors, or it's you need to be aware of it at the very least. So home buying advances into new era of credit score competition. So the FHA joins Fannie and Freddie in implementing Vantage Score 4.0. I'm not going to read this whole article, but it's basically an announcement that says the Federal Housing Administration will permit the use of Vanta Score 4.0 blah, blah, as eligible scoring models for FHA insured underwriting, and they are using housing history. So rental housing history will now affect a person's credit score, this Vantage Score 4.0. So if and when you have a property management company or an individual that reports your on-time payments, that can go towards increasing your credit score. It's going to be like a credit card payment or a home payment. It's going to go towards your credit history, whereas in the past it has not, or FHA hasn't recognized it as a valid model. So two things here is one, to be aware of is that more and more tenants are wanting and expecting owners or property management companies to report their rental history because they're aware of this, of course, and they want to build their credit to be able to ultimately purchase a home. So just know that if you're going head to head against another property, that if you report and the other one doesn't, you've got a pretty significant leg up if you do report, because tenants are looking for property managers who do that. The other thing that is maybe a little bit, I don't know, the bad part about this is that, it does help renters develop their credit score, and then opens the opportunity for them to become purchasers, which ultimately is a good thing, but it does create maybe a little bit potentially for some more churn if these renters do turn into home buyers, which I mean is good for them, it's good for the nation, but it does. Yeah, it's good for the economy. I mean, there's lots of good things, but as an individual selfish landlord, it's not something that you love to see because you want that tenant in there for 10 years, but, and that still will happen. But just, again, something to just be aware of here is this change, and potentially looking to offer that as a quote unquote service to the tenants that, hey, we do offer credit reporting. And that is something that tenants are looking for their property managers.
Okay, I don't hate it. Is there any more light that you can personally shed on? So the Federal Housing Administration will permit the use of Vantage Score 4.0 and FICO 10T. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, what is that?
It is the credit. Here we go. It's the first new credit scoring models in decades. The historic move intends to lower the cost for Americans, so it's a new credit scoring system, which is going to be inclusive of the rental payment history.
Copy. Okay, that makes it a lot more clear. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's huge. The only other perspective I would see from this potentially, and this is just beginning to wrap my head around what this actually could result in, is this lowering standards for approval in order to push more home ownership? Because that's probably the first thing that I would hear out of this, aside from the advantages from the tenant standpoint, which there are many, and that's awesome. But what's your perspective on that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it actually is a little bit more fair, because up until now, tenants have never been rewarded for paying on time, or there's never been a way to be rewarded for paying on time. Whereas if you have a mortgage, you're developing your credit history. So I think it's a little bit more fair to tenants because they should be rewarded for paying on time. It is part of your credit history. You are signing up for a lease, which is a 1 year obligation or a 1 year to pay X amount per month. And if you pay X amount per month, that should be reported and that should be counted. So I think it's fair. I think it's a step in the right direction.
100%. Okay, love it. All right. What else you got?
Cool. I got a couple more. This is really just more of like, it's a report that came out from the software that we use for our showings, and they do a great job of compiling. Now, this is nationwide data, but it's so cool because they have so much data because they work with thousands of property managers out there to do showings on homes. And so they compile all that information on a quarterly basis and put together some pretty cool insights. And there was just two things that I wanted to share with our investors here today because it is so timely. So let me share this report. So this is for Q1 of 2026. There's 2 points. This is like a 30-page report. But there's 2 points I really want to drive home here. And it's so important because we are in the middle of leasing season. But what they have identified here is and this is the headline, the pricing, the biggest pricing gap we have seen. So what they are talking about is that it's so important to price your home right off the bat. Because if you have to take a price reduction, it costs you, in this particular case, if you have to take one price reduction, your home on average across the nation will sit on the market vacant for an additional 21 days. So the average days on the market is what this is right here. So this is, if you priced it right off the bat, your home on average will be vacant for 21 days. If you have to take one price reduction, you're going to be vacant for 22 days. If you're going to have two price reductions, you're going to be vacant for 58 days. If you have to take three price reductions, you're going to be vacant for 78 days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 5 is then, of course, the extreme of 98 days. But it just goes to show the importance of getting that home priced right to begin with. So often we have owners who say, well, let's just try it out at whatever, $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month, knowing that they are $200 over market or maybe over what we've recommended. Well, this is just driving home the point of do not do that because that is going to cost you in terms of days on the market and in terms of vacancy. So this is just, again, data-driven stuff to allow you to make a better educated decision on pricing your home right to begin with. And I don't know, I just saw it and I thought, man, I got to share that on the podcast because I think it's such a powerful point.
Okay, so a couple things, and we know this at Red Door. This is not something that's revolutionary information to us, right? This is something that we talk about all the time. But when you have graphics like this that you can share with your owners, it's massive. And not only that, I literally have a scheduled call today with one of our big investors about the pricing strategy that they've chosen. And unfortunately, they were one of the many owners that want to try and achieve a couple $100 more than what was suggested to them originally, and we are experiencing that. I think now we're at. I think it's been on the market for like 21 days. Our leasing team has provided them constant updates every single week. We have tried to encourage them to reduce the rent, and the response yesterday to our leasing team was, well, let's give it 2 more weeks, right? And that's so common what we hear all the time. Let's give it 2 more weeks. And so I during our leasing meeting, I was like, no, I've got to send them a video and have a conversation with them and explain this right here. So perfect timing for this, Mike. If you would please shoot this graphic over to me. I know this is a little inside baseball for Red Door, but shoot this over to me so I can use it here later today because this is amazing. This is what an impact it is.
The other one that I wanted to show you is the conversion rate. And I think we've talked about this before, but I just think it's so timely and so intertwined with the graphic that we just showed. So what this shows here is this is, like the top of the funnel. So this is new leads. So this would be leads that we get as a property management company who just say, hey, I'm interested in the house. Okay.
Yeah.
Super casual, we get a lot of those. Okay. And this is the funnel that we need somebody to go to in order to lease a home. So somebody who shows a lead or somebody who says, hey, I'm interested in this home. 40% of those actually schedule a showing.
So, okay, just so what we typically call, sorry, Mike, what we typically call those new leads would be clicks. That's what we would call a click. So somebody who maybe clicked on an ad or something like that. So just to give the viewer a little perspective about what new leads actually might be. So maybe you got to click online.
Hey, I'm interested in this home. Okay. So what does that mean? That means, okay, that's good. But of those, only 40% of those schedule a showing. And then of that, let's just say 100, okay? So let's say of those 100 people who said, hey, I'm interested, only 23% actually complete a showing. Only 16, let's call it 17%, request an application, and then only 4.5% actually submit an application. So the point of this is it's a bit of a numbers game, right? So if you, like you said, we do weekly videos to our owners and we say, hey, we tell them, hey, here's the number of leads that we got. Here's the number of showings that we completed. We give them any feedback that we had on the showings. Here's the number of applications that are submitted. The point that I am trying to make is that you need to have a pretty substantial amount of leads in order to get to the bottom of the funnel here, which is applications submitted. The other thing that's not on this is not all applications are good. And here at Red Door, we have about a 55% approval rate. So we really need to get at least 2 applications to approve one person, right? So if you kind of do the math and go backwards, that means you need to have 44 leads in order to get 1 approved application. So if we're sending you videos every single week and we say, oh, hey, there's 2 leads or 5 leads, that is just simply not good enough unless you want to be vacant for 10 weeks. So it's being aware of these numbers. And that's why we do this to educate our owners that, hey, 5 leads a week stinks. That's not good enough. We need to be like 10 or 15 or 20 if we want to get this thing leased up very, very quickly. So that's the point I want to try to make. And that is a result of this graphic up here of pricing it right to begin with. You're going to have more leads, which is going to lead to more showings, faster everything. So anyway, I just wanted to drive that point home. It's so important as we get into leasing season. Price it right and pay attention to your leads. We're going to tell you good, bad, or ugly. We're going to tell you the amount of leads that we get so that you can act accordingly and price it accordingly or make any condition improvements that we may need to make. So anyway, that's all I had for market updates, economic updates.
What an amazing economic update that we just shared, and just to close this out, it's about understanding the true cost of vacancy, right? That destroys your ROI. So it's about understanding the true cost of vacancy and making $100 price change on the front end, how it can cost you thousands of dollars staying on the market for 3 months. So that's the overall wrap up to understand here, the true cost of vacancy. So, all right. Thanks, Mike. That was awesome. If you want to see more economic updates, check out our Watch and Learn tab on our website. Of course, check out our YouTube page where we do all kinds of landlord tips and tricks, segments that are geared to help you make better, insightful decisions. But not only that, what we're about to get into now is our market reports. We'll catch you in the comments.